What is up, everybody? Here's part 15 of building Nasty Love. So if you guys have been following this build at all on my TikTok, you'll know that I finally got all the parts that I need to put this rear end together. I got the third member in the mail, I got the brakes, I got the axle housing in that white box there, and I have the axles here. And now we just need to put all this together, and today I am very sick. I came down with something, and I'm pretty lightheaded, but we're still gonna put out this video for you guys and get this rear end assembled, because I don't really want to sit around and do nothing. And I was really excited when I got that rear diff, or when I got the third member, sorry. And I really want to get this thing assembled so I can just see, have a good visual of my first actual part for the Chevy LUV together and ready to go into the truck. So first thing we got to do, like I said, get all this stuff moved. So we got these microfibers here. We're just going to place them on here. Now let's get this axle housing onto the jack stands. All right, there we go. I've definitely never assembled one of these things before, so I have no idea how they go together. So all of this is just going to be guesswork. So hopefully I don't do anything wrong and mess it up. I don't think I should, but let's give it a go. I think I'm going to clean out the inside of this axle housing first before I put everything together. Because once I put it together, it's going to be together for good, and it's going to be filled with fluid once it's in the truck and everything's ready to go. Okay, so as I was cleaning this out with brake clean, I actually did find a little bit of slag in here that I do want to remove, especially in like this bolt hole. Like, I'm not going to be able to get the studs in here if it has slag in the bolt holes. So I got all that out, and I'm just going to go around and scrape out any big chunks of slag that I see, just so that that doesn't get ground up in the gears when I put this all together. Alright, so we were able to scrape off a good bit of loose slag. I'm just going to take my air compressor now and blow this all out, get rid of all the slag. And then one more wipe through with a rag and some brake clean. Alright, so now we have to install these studs here that actually hold on the actual third member. And to my understanding, I'll just put them through, put on some washers like this. I take a nut, ratchet, then tighten this down by hand until this stud is all the way sunk into the actual housing. Just like that, that is one installed stud. Now, we just gotta do that 9 more times. Alright, so that was not fun, but we got all the studs installed here. So now it's time to clean this all up, get some 3-bond on it, and then slap that third member in. Alright, so now that we got all those things installed, we got some brake parts cleaner here. I'm going to clean up the mating surface so that our 3-bond sticks and does not leak. So now we're going to do the same thing here to the third member. Gonna take some brake parts cleaner and clean up the mating surface. Alright, so now that that is cleaned up, we're gonna take some of this and goop it all around there. Make sure to put on a real thick bead so that this stuff sticks. All right, so I'm gonna attempt to carefully set this third member in there. All right, so I got most of these nuts on. This thing was kind of a pain in the butt to get on there. For some reason, some of the studs were a little crooked and it just wasn't that easy to get on there. And now I'm going to have to use a box end wrench because that's the only thing I can get to fit in here to tighten these down, which that's gonna take a while, but here we go. All right, ladies and gents, look at that. Our third member is installed. Now it's time to put in those axle seals, put in the axles, and then the brackets, and lastly, the brakes. I have my axle seal here. I'm not sure the exact proper way to install this, but I'm just gonna try to get it in there square with my fingers and go around and lightly tap it in with the 3/8 extension. I don't have a socket that's big enough to hit all around the edges of the seal, so hopefully this will work. That is not working. We're gonna have to try something else. All right, so I've got the Subaru timing belt pulley, the seal, and a socket. We're gonna somehow try to get these to work, hammering this in there. All right, well, I got the seal in there, and as you can see, I kind of dented it up and damaged it. Hopefully it doesn't leak. I definitely didn't do that right, so don't do like me. But I don't have the proper seal installer tool, and that's just about as good as I could get it. And we are gonna be putting some RTV on the bearing races, so hopefully that keeps it sealed up and nothing leaks out of here. I'm a little worried because I did dent it up pretty good, but hopefully it'll seal. So now I'm just gonna take a little dab of gear oil here on my finger, put it on that seal so we're not running a dry seal. Then we take our axle here. Now hopefully I don't have to take this back out anytime soon because this RTV that I am putting on here would make it very difficult to come back out, but it's a second barrier against leaks, so we're just gonna risk it. And then we're gonna just take this axle and slide it in. Careful not to damage the seal. There we go. And now we just take a rubber mallet and hammer this in. And that is one axle installed. So now lastly, I'm just going to take a paper towel here and get rid of all this excess silicone that is around the bearing. All right, there we go. All clean of silicone, and we're ready to put on the plate that holds that in. So now we come over here with this plate here. It goes against it like this. And we take these T-bolts, put them through the backside here. And then we grab our 4 nuts here. I'm not gonna tighten these all the way down because I'm not positive this is the orientation of which this bracket goes. I think it only goes 1 or 2 ways, but we will see. We gotta move this thing over so we can get that axle in. And now we're gonna do the same exact steps on this side, but I'm gonna throw you guys in a time lapse. Well, that was a lie because apparently I forgot to hit the record button. But this side is now on, that side is on, but I have that bracket on backwards. I looked at the instructions. These 4 bolts here, bolt holes here, are supposed to be towards the rear of the vehicle. So I got those ones in the correct place. I just need to flip-flop that bracket around, then we can tighten those down and we'll get on to the brakes. So first thing we got to do with the brakes is install this caliper bracket here. And the way that installs, we've got these 4 bolts and nuts with spacers. Put a bolt through the bracket here, spacer on there, and then the bracket goes on just like that, and that's how it's held on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those installed. And that bracket is installed. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side, and then we're gonna slap the rotors on and put the calipers on, and that's a job done. All right, so we have both of the brackets installed. Now we just need to open up these boxes here. These are the calipers for the rear end. They've already got brake pads and everything, and bolts and washers, nuts, everything. And here we got the rotors. I'm gonna take these out, clean those off, and install them. When you get new rotors, they come coated in oil so that they don't rust. And yes, I should be wearing gloves, but I am completely out of gloves, and they are very expensive right now. There's one rotor. And there's the other rotor. All right guys, so now it is time to install the calipers. And it is important before installing these to make sure that we are installing the correct ones on the correct side. So that means the bleeder screw will be pointing towards the top of the axle. This is the top of the axle here, this way. And we have this bleeder here. That is the correct brake caliper for this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out these Allen bolts that run all the way through the caliper. So we're gonna try to install this here. Okay. Okay, we got that one started. There's one. And there's two. And then we are done. And now before we go, I just wanted to show you guys, I do have the wheels for Nasty Love here. I'm gonna set one of those on this axle and show you guys what it looks like. But first we're gonna go over the axle specs. So this is a Ford 9-inch from Quick Performance. It has a 3.5 gear ratio. I optioned with the billet yoke, and that one's good for 450 plus wheel horsepower. I optioned for disc rear brakes and the custom fabricated housing, which is stronger and lighter, and some big beefy axles. So now let's get one of those wheels on this axle and see how it looks. There we are guys, the classic black steel Bassett racing wheel. I didn't think really anything else would have been suiting for this build since it is a NASCAR tribute build. So I'm really happy with how these look. I'm really excited to get this on the truck and see how it looks. And luckily, it just barely clears the caliper there. So these wheels, hopefully as long as it clears everything in the front end, we'll be able to run these. Maybe we'll have to run spacers, not sure yet, but just look at that. Anyways guys, that is a wrap on the Chevy LUV project for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. This was quite the process. I've never done this before, but we went ahead and got it done. I am sick, it is hot out, and I'm sweating. I need to go inside and cool off. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe, stay tuned, and let's build Nasty Love.